Hello everyone, my name is Jollson. I work as a software engineer for Electron at Boston, Massachusetts. Today I'm going to talk about a new technology or a new framework that helps the user to connect the controls that you drag and drop onto a ASPX page to a table. Maybe it's in a SQL or Oracle or MS Access or whatever database it is. Before I walk you through an existing product in the market, that is 360 Compact AutoDB, let me talk about what I am looking for. So last week I was working for a client and I had to create a page with set of controls. It was not a rocket science, but I was supposed to create a page with set of validations. Let's say it was a page with set of controls, and there is a save button on that page. So it's very simple, right? So the user enters the data into the forms. It contains text box, radio button, drop down box, list box. So whatever it is, when the user selects or enters values into the page and submit, what we basically do is, if you want to update that value into a database, what we do is, if you're using a design pattern, you fill the data from the controls into a business entity using the getters and setters. Then what we'll do is, from the data access layer, you open a connection, you set the SQL parameters with the data type, and you call a stored procedure, pass all the SQL parameters, and that stored procedure will take care of it. So let's think about the validation part. So you have a table called student table that contains three fields: student ID, student name, and age. So you know that age is going to be an integer value, and the valid data, but you can have a check constraint like the value in the age column in student table must be between 0 and 100. So think about an ASPX page, a form where you drag and drop a text box that represents the age. So the control do not have a data type. So if you want to validate that text box, like the user is supposed to enter age in that text box. So you have to use a client-side validation, either a jQuery or some sort of JavaScript validations, to make sure that the user enters only integer value in that, or you can use a regular expression for that. But anyway, it's the responsibility of the user to make sure that the user enters a 2-digit integer value in the text box. So let's think about a big form with many controls that is mapped to different tables. So what I'm thinking is, for any project, we do the database design first. Okay, so the database may contain many tables. You set the relationship between the tables, and for each table you select a data type for each column, and you can also have constraints like is null, is not null, check constraint, or you can use a SQL rule for each column. So my thought was, once you design the database, why can't you inherit the rules? Why can't you inherit the properties? Why can't you inherit the data types and directly map the database columns to the form? So in simple, I call it form to database mapping. Like the txt age, that's the text box on your ASPX page where the user is supposed to enter age, is linked to the age column in student table through an XML file. So this is the high level concept behind this. So let me show you how it works. Alright, you can see on the screen Visual Studio. I click on File, click on New. I select ASP.NET page and I call it new form.aspx. I click OK. Now you can see the new ASPX form. I maximized it. Now from the HTML tab, I inserted a table with rows and columns, and width I set to 450 and no height. Okay, I click OK, and you see the table right there. I clicked on the table once, and from the table property, the BG color, that's the background color, I selected gray. Now you can see the table with gray color. I'm typing in the table row, the first row, say first name, second column last name. In the third row I say email address. The fourth row I say product, comments, and I clicked on more cells right, so the cells move to the right side. and then dragging and dropping text box, because the first name is going to be a text box, last name is a text box, email address is another text box. And for the product, I am dragging and dropping a drop down because I have more than one product from which the user can select one. So for the comments, I drag and drop a text box. I'm going to change the text mode to multi-line, so you can enter like a notes kind of thing. And I drag and drop a checkbox. I'm going to edit the text of the checkbox, say please send occasional product information. So I say by email. So I say like please send occasional information by email. So the user select it, or we will send email information. So I drag and drop a button and I call the button submit. Alright. So now you have a ASPX page with first name, last name, email address, product, comments, and this. So I'm going to change the ID of text box to first underscore name. The same way I change the ID of second text box to last underscore name. The third one to email underscore address. And the drop down, I call it product. The comments, I call it. Alright, before that, let me go back to the drop down and add the first item. I call it AutoDB. Alright, and the second item, auto email. And the third item is validation processor. Alright, okay. And now you see the drop down with values, and for the comments I need to change the ID of the comments to comment. Alrighty, and now we have the checkbox. I call it send email, send underscore email. Alright, so now you have the ASPX page with the ID set, and now go back to the custom controls and you can see the AutoDB control. I dragged and dropped the AutoDB control, which is a assembly that takes care of this database mapping. If you go to the properties of AutoDB, you can see the redirect URL. Like when you submit this page, when the data is inserted or updated into the database, they'll be redirected to thank you page, thank-you.aspx. I save the application, and let me go back to the drive where I have the exe, that basically the DB mapper. That helps. That's a wizard kind of thing. Help you to map this ASPX page to an existing table in a database. So for that, I'm going to my drive where I have the DB form, that's in C program file 360 impact AutoDB DB form wizard. You can see the DB form wizard.exe. That's a wizard application. Double click that. Now you have the database connection and ASP.NET form. You can select Microsoft SQL Server or other database. In this demonstration, I'm going to select other database because I have a MS Access database with me for the demonstration. So my database provider is Access, and the server database, I select the database path because I have the MDB file in my hard drive. So I'm going to browse for that. I'm going to select that from the data folder, that is my database.mdb. Open it. Alright, now you have the database path to the my database MDB. I'm now going to browse for the ASPX file. I select new form.aspx, which is the ASPX form that I just created for this demonstration purpose.